Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is what the last 24 hours in crypto really looks like. And it's not just the last 24 hours. Let's look at the last week and let's look at the last month. So, right now, over the last roughly 2 months or so, this market has been just chopping and selling off. And this is actually causing a little bit of panic across the board. We are now starting to see people asking me in the comments, are we in a bear market? And typically, when I start to see this happening, while the overall market trend has not shifted yet, it means that we are getting close to that bottom. Now, I do want to talk about that and I want to address that in this video. So, welcome to the channel, everyone. My name is Nick. For those that are new to the channel, hopefully by the end of this video, you do become a subscriber. Let's talk about this real quick and let's actually address this in the most simple way possible. When we look at the top 1 through 100 on the last month, and then we look at the 101 to 200 and so forth, like we could see that it's basically red across the board. I mean, even when we look at like the 601 to 700, like, yeah, that's up about 19.6%. But what's actually in that category, right? It's illiquid, coins that are pumping off of practically zero volume. So we can't even take that as a serious area of the market and say, oh, well, at least there is some green. And don't get me wrong, there is some green in this market. Like Telcoin's doing very good. Ohm's doing very good. These are two great projects that I have mentioned in the Discord, but outside of that, there really isn't much happening here. And even all the exchanges, we could see all the exchanges are negative as well. But one thing that I want you guys to understand is the last year. Now, if we look at the last year, now we have a little bit of a different story. Look at all the exchanges there in the green. Everything outside of like the 601 to 700 and even the 801 to 900 is all green, which is telling us the macro is still very bullish. We're just caught up looking at the 1 month or the 1 week or even just the 1 day. But is this something to be concerned about? And do I think that the market has topped? We're going to address that here in a second. But first, let's actually look at what's going on right now. Number one, Bitcoin. Guys, Bitcoin is still chopping. There really isn't much that has changed over the last roughly month. I wish that I could say that we're looking very good here, but realistically speaking, there isn't much to talk about when it comes to Bitcoin. I actually updated the Discord recently with the weekly market breakdown, and I just had to be honest with them. I had to say, nothing is happening. And this is typically the most frustrating time in the market because we want something to happen, right? We want to see something happen on the chart, whether it be up or down, because again, we're just so bored. Now, one thing that I will say, and this is very important to focus on, watch for a loss of the previous lows. I'm looking at this thing on the 5-day right now. If we were to lose even this low, followed by this low, number one, we're guaranteed basically to target this low here if we lose both of these two significant lows, because what is happening? We are creating bearish structure. We are losing the previous lows that have actually held so far. We have so far created a bullish structure or a neutral structure because we haven't, seen any higher highs. We're just seeing higher lows. If we were to lose every single one of these lows on this chart, what would be next? It would be filling this fair value gap on the 5-day. $81,450 to about $88,700. I do not want to see us hit this, but it is a big possibility. And I want to stress that because I don't want you guys to get, so ahead of yourselves thinking that it's just going to be up only and that we're going to be fine. There is still a very, good possibility that we start to kind of sell off into this fair value gap. And then we finally move to the upside. A good example of that is going all the way back here to, March. if we look at this thing on the 1 week, okay, this is what the 1 week looks like. Now, we did wick below the fair value gap here. This was our fair value gap on Bitcoin during that time. Now, we trailed in that fair value gap for quite some time down here, right? Before we actually got that upside potential. And when we think about that, okay, this was a very long time. In order for us to actually create a neutral, overall structure in September, it took 175 days. Right now, from the top wick, we can go off of this one if you want, but it's more so this one that we're actually focused on. Right now, Bitcoin has been trailing sideways for about 70 days. If we were to trail sideways for that length of the March move, we're looking at June of this year. Is this what I think we're doing? No. I don't think that we have to wait that long. But I just want you guys to understand that we have, seen this type of, price action before, and it's not bearish, overall price action. It's boring, it's frustrating, it's depressing, but typically price action like this leads to very violent upward swings. Now, outside of Bitcoin, what's actually causing the market to sell off right now? Well, it's because of all of the headlines. Number one, we know about the Bybit hack. We know about all of the bearish news that hit the market on Friday, with even the stock market getting massively hit. And today we have Solana see significant Binance sales amid market uncertainty. And if we actually look at this, we could see that, Binance has been selling huge amounts of Solana in the last 4 hours. Through market makers, Wintermute, they know something. Everyone's speculating that the market's about to crash, and we could see how much money is being sold here in terms of Solana. By the way, Solana is down significantly today. If we actually look at Solana, it's down about 5.8% today. It's down about, in the last week, down about almost 15%. In the last month, it's down about 36%, which is pretty rough. But on top of that, right, we also saw Montana reject the Bitcoin reserve bill, which was to be expected. I mean, let's just be honest. This was going to be something that anyone could have guessed would happen. But yeah, this got rejected, which is also causing a little bit of negativity in the space, and just a little bit of sell pressure. On top of that, Binance is also selling massive amounts of ETH. And again, do they know something that we don't? That's what everyone's asking, because we could see how much Ethereum is getting sold here. And a lot of people are even saying like something big is coming very soon. This doesn't look good. And again, everyone will be speculating that this is going to lead us into the bear market, that everything is going to crash, that everything's going down. And even on top of this, right, if we go over here, we also just saw another hack 3 hours ago. Infinity hack, 49.5 million in stablecoin stolen. This is pretty significant because, they also just celebrated that they hit about 50 million, and one of their developers retained admin access after the project delivery, and they exploited the project for $49.5 million. Again, this is a big issue right now in the space. I want you all to understand that we must be careful. You got to understand the risk involved in clicking links, signing any contracts. Just make sure that you guys are being very careful. I understand that there's a lot of scams in the comments as well. I try my best. It's a very, very annoying space right now with a lot of these scumbags that are trying to, hack and trying to scam people and fish people. It's ridiculous. But this is also causing a lot of panic. On top of this, we also have some very big accounts like Finance Law, for an example, over 220,000 plus followers. So, he's speculating about, Jerome Powell testifying before the House and Senate were completely random in March. Powell testified on February 11th and 12th. Take a guess of what dates he testified in 2020, right before the crash. February 11th and 12th. Must be, a coincidence, right? And again, we know that today, this is still true. He just testified on the same dates. And we now have Jamie Dimon selling 33% of his JP Morgan stock on February 20th. And a lot of people are also speculating that they know something. What's going on here? Even the co-CEO also sold over 37,500 shares, worth about 20% of his portfolio. And again, a lot of people are just speculating, like, what's going on here? What's happening? Do they know something that we don't know? And we also have, of course, the US stock market reaches the most overvalued level in history, comparing it back to like 1999, 1966, and even 1929. And again, everyone is going to call, all right, the time for the sky to fall is now, even though I don't believe that this is the case. Right now, if we look at Bitcoin dominance, guys, I want you guys to understand this is where we're at right now, cyclical wise. All right. This is the alt season of 2021. Let me ask you, where's our alt season over here? Where's the big drop down? You might say, oh, well, alt season doesn't have to happen. The thing about that I find very surprising is you have Bitcoin investors that want to rotate into altcoins. They're the main ones that actually facilitate alt season, essentially. The big rotation. Right now, everyone is talking about Bitcoin. What happens when the focus shifts to Ethereum or utility-based projects? I do believe that we are going to see alt season in a big way. In fact, I think that we're getting very close to that top. We are watching this one closely while Bitcoin does chop, because if Bitcoin does take another leap, obviously, yes, altcoins get slaughtered. But if we get a big move to the upside while this chart moves to the downside, altcoins are going to bounce back significantly. And in my opinion, a lot of these altcoin charts are actually heavily sold off. Now, as we do really look at XRP, this is what the XRP chart looks like. It's just kind of chopping against that upper trend line while we, continue to sell off in this wedge. I'm waiting for us to actually hit this lower level. Again, it's not guaranteed that we hit this, but this is about $2.19. I'm watching for us to sweep this because there's a lot of liquidity down there. And it would make sense for us to actually sweep those lows, something like this, chop a little bit, and then finally break to the upside, potentially breaking out of that trend line. Most likely we'll reject a little bit, kind of build a floor here before we finally get that big breakout, retest the trend line, and then continue even higher. That's what normal price action would look like if we were going to live in a perfect world. We don't know what's going to happen here in terms of, what's next for XRP, but if Bitcoin does go to fill that fair value gap with how high Bitcoin dominance actually is, then this would most likely be the area of focus for XRP, this retest of that lower level. So that's what I'm actually personally watching for when it comes to XRP. In terms of XLM, kind of the same story, right? We're looking forward to seeing this overall liquidity level completely, tapped. This would be about 30 cents for XLM. It's not too far off. Could we go lower? The answer is yeah. We could go significantly lower. We could even retest around roughly 27 cents. There's a big fair value gap back there. So if we think about XLM and most of this market, should we brace for impact, right? We should always be ready for a big sell-off. No matter how bullish the market looks, no matter how good things look, we should always be prepared for a big sell-off. Why? Because at least we are prepared for whatever happens. If we go up, we have our long-term bags locked in. If we go down, we have our stablecoins locked in. In my opinion, we should always be prepared for whatever happens. When we look at all of these charts, though, they're not all the same. HBAR, in my opinion, is ready to rebound in a huge way. We already retested that macro trend line. And just like from my video yesterday, I'm still expecting the same exact thing here. This is what I am expecting on HBAR. Will most likely take a few weeks to actually, print out, but this is what I'm watching for. And last but not least, of course, we do have XDC. XDC, we're looking for the midline sweep at about roughly almost 8 cents or so. It's like 7-8 cents. So this is what we're really kind of looking at right now. Is the market extremely bearish? Are we in a bear market? Number one, market has been pretty bearish. Sentiment around this market has been extremely bearish. I don't think that we're in a bear market yet. And the reason why I say that is because we actually haven't hit euphoric levels. I mean, don't get me wrong, a lot of the price action that we have witnessed in this space, like XRP or even HBAR and XLM and even XDC and some of the other altcoins, it's been very exciting. But most of them haven't even broken over all-time highs. Going off the bear market lows, yeah, sure, it's been it's been great. But for the most part, I mean, these altcoins have barely moved. That's why I look at like the last 1 year and, yeah, there's been a lot of great gains across the board, but the percentages here just don't add up for typical alt season. There's still a lot of red on the 1 year. In a typical alt season, most of the altcoin market is flashing green in a big way. We haven't seen that yet, which is why I don't believe that we are in a bear market. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys definitely have a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.